Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I have a spice blend video for you. I had many people request this. In this video, we're going to do a steak seasoning, a taco seasoning, a ranch seasoning, a barbecue rub, and a Greek seasoning. First up, we are going to be doing the Greek seasoning. For this, you would use 1 to 2 tablespoons of this per pound of meat. It's really good on chicken, turkey, beef. Sprinkle it on your veggies. There's lots of things you can do with it. You will need 1½ tablespoons of oregano, 1½ tablespoons of garlic powder, 1/2 tablespoon of dill weed, or you can use dill seeds as well, 1/2 tablespoon of minced onion, 1/2 tablespoon of onion powder, 1/2 tablespoon of parsley, 1 tablespoon of basil, 3/4 teaspoon of thyme, 1/2 tablespoon of salt. I'm using this sea salt, and 1 tablespoon of ground black pepper. And you're going to put everything in your bowl, and then you are going to mix it up. I just used a whisk to whisk it all up. And then I am going to put it in my jar. I do find it easiest to use like a funnel of some sort to put them in your jar. It just seems to work out the best. And here is the Greek seasoning. So like I said, you can use this for chicken, pork, beef, or veggies. Next up, we are going to do a ranch seasoning blend. For this, you would use about 2 tablespoons per like 16 ounces of a mixture of either yogurt, sour cream, mayo, and then you just thin it out with some heavy cream. First up, we need to do 1/4 cup of parsley. Then we are going to do 1/8 cup of dill weed, 1/8 cup of onion powder, 1/8 cup of dried chives, 1 tablespoon of minced onion, 1/2 tablespoon of garlic powder, and we're going to do 1½ tablespoon of salt. I'm using the pink Himalayan salt, and 1 teaspoon of pepper. And again, you're just going to whisk this up with a whisk, and then again, I'll be using a funnel to go ahead and put that into my jar here. And like I said, you could just blend this up. You can use it as a dip, then you could just put it in sour cream or some plain non-fat Greek yogurt. And like I said, I just use some heavy cream, or you can use some plain almond milk to thin it out. Next up, we are going to do a taco seasoning. I get a lot of requests for this one as well. So for this one, you would use about 1 to 2 tablespoons per pound of ground meat, whichever, like ground beef, ground chicken, ground turkey. You will need 2 tablespoons of chili powder, 1½ teaspoons of paprika. I prefer to use the smoked paprika, but you can use the plain as well. 2 teaspoons of cumin, 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, 1/4 teaspoon of cayenne. If you don't want it as spicy, you can leave this out. 2 teaspoons of salt. Again, I'm using the pink Himalayan salt. 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and then 1/4 teaspoon of oregano. And again, we're going to do the same thing. We're just going to whisk this up with a whisk, and then we're going to go ahead and put it in our jar. And like I said, I use about 1 to 2 tablespoons of this per pound of ground meat. And then you can add a little bit of water in there to, kind of water it down a little bit. But this turns out really well, and it tastes just as good as the kind that you buy in the packages. Next up is a barbecue rub, and I like to use this. I will marinate my meat in this. I'll add in a couple tablespoons of any kind of oil that you like. So what goes in this is 4 tablespoons of some kind of brown sugar substitute. I prefer the Sucrin Gold. This stuff is the closest to regular brown sugar. 2 tablespoons of smoked paprika, 2 tablespoons of regular paprika, 1 tablespoon of ground black pepper, 2 teaspoons of garlic powder, 2 teaspoons of onion powder, 1 teaspoon of ground mustard, half a teaspoon of cayenne. Again, if you don't like spicy, you can leave this part out, and that is it. So you're gonna go ahead and blend this up, put it in your little jar, and like I said, what I do is I'll either rub this on my meat, or you can also put in like 2 tablespoons or so in a Ziploc bag, add your meat to it, and then put in like 2 tablespoons of olive oil, and it makes a really good marinade. The last seasoning is going to be a steak seasoning. This is supposed to be kind of like a copycat of the Montreal steak seasoning, so you can sprinkle this on steaks, pork chops, burgers, chicken, whatever you like to put it on. We're going to start off with 2 tablespoons of some whole peppercorns that we kind of crushed up a little bit. I just kind of crushed them up. 2 tablespoons of garlic powder. And if you don't have the peppercorns, you can just use regular black pepper. 2 tablespoons of salt. Again, I'm using the pink Himalayan salt. 2 tablespoons of paprika. You can use either smoked or regular in this recipe. 1 tablespoon of onion powder. 1 tablespoon of coriander. 1 tablespoon of dill weed. And 1 tablespoon of red pepper flakes. If you don't want it as spicy, I would do only a half of a tablespoon of the red pepper flakes. And here we go. We're just going to go ahead and whisk that together and put it in our jar. And again, I just like to sprinkle this all over either pork chops, steaks, burgers, chicken. You can also use it as a marinade, just like with that rub. You can just put some in a Ziploc bag, add in some oil. I like to use avocado oil, and then let it marinate, and it makes a really good marinade. And that is all 5 of my seasoning blends. These are my top 5 favorite seasoning blends. I will have the recipes listed down below, and let me know if you have any other requests for any kind of spice blends, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye guys!